This is JBC News. In this Passover weekend bulletin, an unexplained blackout in Jerusalem. A murderer is released. A king dies. Jerusalem was plunged into darkness today. The Minister for Energy called for calm and said that while such events may put upward pressure on prices, the government was not to blame. Rather, it was from natural causes. Supernatural, said many others who had experienced the unexplained 3 hours of darkness. Well-known gangland figure Barabbas was sensationally released by Governor Pilate. Pilate has been trying to use his customary annual amnesty to release previously popular provincial preacher Jesus of Nazareth. Polling now showed that Barabbas was the clear crowd favourite for freedom, and tonight he is a free man. The Attorney General has promised a full investigation into this seeming miscarriage of justice, but human rights advocates comment, "We've heard this before." Our man on the scene, Joseph of Arimathea, said, "These events show how fickle fame is. The decision may have been popular, but it was not justice. A murderer has been set free, yet Jesus was sentenced to death for riding a donkey." This leads to our main story, the death of a king. As we reported last week, Jesus of Nazareth rode into Jerusalem on a donkey, with his disciples announcing him as the Son of David. He must have known that such a claim to kingship was a provocative act in the midst of the Passover celebrations. That messianic mule march set in train today's horrific events. Allegedly betrayed by one of his own disciples, Jesus was arrested yesterday evening and put on trial before Caiaphas, high priest, overnight, and then Governor Pilate this morning. The charge could be summed up with the unlikely question to a carpenter from Nazareth: "Are you the King of the Jews?" Jesus' response was inconclusive, and then he refused to answer any more questions, even having been flogged. After the scandalous release of Barabbas, Pilate handed Jesus over for crucifixion and washed his hands of the whole affair. But the stain will remain, and Jesus' trial for his royal claims were far from over. The Roman soldiers gave him a crown of thorns coronation. He was nailed to a cross, and so was his crime. This is Jesus, the King of the Jews, was nailed above his head. It was there for the whole world to see. But this was not monarchy. This was mockery. Shouts deriding his kingly claims continue. "Come on down, King. Save yourself, Son of God." Then the blackout occurred. And finally, in the gloom, Jesus himself shouted, my God, why have you forsaken me?" Abandoned by all, and seeming to abandon his own claim to any throne, he breathed his last. In the darkness, there was now an earthquake. There have been unconfirmed reports of vandalism in the heart of the temple, yet no culprits have been found. Social media has been filled with reports of open tombs and strange appearances of the occupants, along with questions of what does this mean and who was Jesus? Was he a political pretender, a religious radical, a deluded and dangerous demigod? Like Jerusalem earlier in the day, we're in the dark. One man had an answer. Bystander Simon of Cyrene, who was caught up in these strange events by carrying Jesus' cross, told JBC that the centurion who oversaw the crucifixion thought that all these strange events vindicated Jesus' royal claim, saying in awe, "Truly this man was the Son of God." If that is true, then he was both guilty of the charge, he was the king, but also it means there was no charge to be answered, rather a saviour to follow. He was not a royal pretender, but a true king. But these seem hollow words for all the crowds that followed him just a week ago. There was now no one left to say the king is dead, or to live a defiant, long live the king. A group of women followers took him to a borrowed tomb, but the claim of "this is the King," which was lifted high on his cross, is now dead and buried with him. Jesus of Nazareth now faces a higher court where perhaps he will find vindication, but how would we ever know the verdict? Only another empty tomb and strange appearance could answer that question in what would surely be the greatest and best news story ever. For now, it's just another bad Friday in Jerusalem. Darkness in the heart of the city. The innocent are punished. The guilty go free. And we wonder if God is listening. That's the JBC News Report for today. There will be no news tomorrow due to the Passover Sabbath, but we'll be back the next day early with the rising of the sun. That was Friday. Sunday's coming.